You're recording.
I got it. Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome. All right. In 2023, February, I went to Panama with a group, with a guide out of Colorado that I've gone with many times. And we spent a couple of days in Panama City, during which time we went along the canal, the Panama Canal. We saw the Panama Canal. Went on a boat trip down the canal and toured part of the old town, the city, and took some architectural shots and a variety of other shots. But then we flew to the Pacific side, just south of Costa Rica, to an island. And from that island, we boated to another island called Isle de Bestamontes, I think it was, where there was an eco resort called Tranquil Bay. And we spent the rest of our time there, except that we took one day we took a 45-minute boat trip to an old canal going through the jungle, the rainforest, just south of, or southeast, west of it, because right there, Panama is kind of facing east and west, and instead of north and south. Just down from Costa Rica is a better way I can say it. And it was very interesting. We got a lot of wildlife shots in there, mostly birds, but also a lot of interesting other creatures. Then in 24, November, just last November, I went to Costa Rica with a guide out of Texas, but the guide is actually Costa Rican and her co-guide is Indian. And we had a great time, but we didn't have time to do any architectural shots. When we got on their little bus to start driving around, we went from one place to the other where we photographed birds mostly, and then other reptiles and stuff as they came along, amphibians, but they didn't give us any time to do shooting in a local flavor. But I thought maybe this might give some people some idea for some art or some places to go. So this particular picture was generated by PowerPoint when I put in the title.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Okay, there's Panama there, and it shows Panama City, the large letters, and I put a little red square there, and then up on the river where the yellow triangle is, that's where we went. Then we flew over here to Boca del Toro Airport, and that's the little tiny red dot, if you can see it from way back there. And then we boated over to Isle de Bestamontes, which is the blue triangle. And from there, one day we boated up to that canal, which I show you there in that little black straight line. I don't know if you can see it or not. Right up there on that little green patch, there's a black straight line, and you can hardly see it from back there at all, but there's a river that it intersects with, that goes out to the ocean. And out in the ocean there, we went to a place called Bird Island and caught some seabirds, and then back to Tranquil Bay.
Better or worse? It's so much better. Thank you so much.
So these photos were in Panama City. This is one of the first photos I took. Was a great-tailed gackle sitting on the seawall or on a bush just outside the seawall. A one-way street, a short one-way street that I thought was kind of interesting. I photographed it. A couple of motorcycles parked back there. some Panamanian architecture. Let me know if I'm going too slow or too fast. Some mural, it's a mural, kind of an interesting mural along with some flowers next to the mural on the side of a building. I thought this was a nice picture with those trees and the building, the white building with all the blue. That's the French embassy in Panama City. There's another shot of the embassy. And I took this because it's unique. You don't see these around here anymore. If you remember what that is, it used to be a Superman prop.
Did the phone work?
I didn't check it. There's a lot of old historical buildings in Panama City, and this was a church, a cathedral that was burned down. Blackbeard the pirate invaded the countries down there. And he was a terror, and he was looking for gold. And he burned a lot of buildings, a lot of churches and stuff looking for gold, looted them. Some more architecture. By the way, if anybody sees anything they'd like to paint or something, feel free. Just let me know. I don't care. This is the Basilica of St. Mary, exterior and interior. The lady praying up there at the front. Very interesting old church. Actually, it's a chapel. That's what basilica means. No, I'm sorry. Basilica doesn't mean chapel. Capilla does. Capilla San Jose, that's a chapel. And this is an interesting, I wish you could see it full screen, but this is an interesting church because in the middle picture, you see the stairs up to the raised pulpit. You just hardly see those anymore, churches. And to the right is the pipe organ up in the back. And to the left is the area behind the altar. That is a gold, solid gold wall. And during the time of Blackbeard, they covered that up with wood and mud and everything they could to keep him from finding it. Just, I don't know how many millions of dollars worth of gold is up there, but it's a lot of gold. Being a railroad photographer, when I saw the Panamanian or the Panama Canal Railway locomotives, I forced the driver to stop our little bus so I could get out and take pictures of them. This is a variable crescent butterfly. There's a little nature preserve there near Panama City that we went to for a little while and got a few pictures of captive animals. Most of the animals, of course, I took were in the wild. This was in a butterfly enclosure. And it's an absolutely beautiful butterfly on that beautiful plant flower. These are some more pictures I got in that facility. A couple little green tree frogs, poison dart frogs. These things are like the size of a quarter, just for comparison. And you won't get any poison in you as long as you don't have any open wounds. And if you're not eating the right kind of beetles or plants or whatever it is they eat that produces the poison in them, they won't be poisonous. Let's see, that's a Panamanian green on the left and a black and green on the right. Okay, the Panama Canal. there's two canals there now instead of one. You can see the large ship up above, below the mountain peak or the hill. It's going towards the Pacific Ocean. The one here, that huge ship with large amount of its sides exposed was coming from the Pacific going to the Atlantic. That's called freeboard, and the wind was howling, and it was blowing against the side of that ship. So it took a long time for them to get it up to where it is from when we first saw it coming. We waited there 2-3 hours for it to come. And before it actually went through the locks, we had to leave for something else. On our boat trip down the canal there, we found a American crocodile resting on the beach. A little ways down further on an island, a great big huge iguana, green iguana. Container ship going through the canal. On the beach of one of the islands, I caught this southern lapwing running around. And of course, the monkeys, the white-faced capuchin monkey. It's actually a little tiny thing. You can hold it in your arms. Proboscis bats were on a tree on an island. A howler monkey way up in a tree. This was a long shot. And it's the only howler monkey we saw in Panama. We heard a lot in Costa Rica and saw one hanging upside down in trees at eye level on the side of the road looking into the bus. But they're very noisy. They woke us up in the morning howling. Another ship that needed a little work going through the canal. Okay, Tranquil Bay. Now, I didn't take any real photos of the facilities because I had a long lens on 99% of the time, and it just wasn't conducive to taking short shots. And I was too exhausted at the end of the day to do it anyway, to change lenses, because we were really busy. Caught a black cheek woodpecker there. Three-toed sloth and a baby. We saw several sloths there at Tranquil Bay. These guys were up at the top of a tall tree. They'd already eaten all of the leaves off of it, but they digest it very, very slowly. And about once a week, every week or two, they have to climb down out of the tree to the ground to poop or move to another tree that has leaves on it. Here's one hanging down from another tree, kind of looking at us. Another three-toed sloth. Things that pop up along the side of my screen that I wish didn't, because they're getting in the way of my controls. Where were we? Oh, right here. Okay, here. This is a two-toed sloth. It was sleeping in a bush at eye level. You see the difference in the faces from the other one.
And it's so green.
Yeah. And let's see, we got a scaly-breasted hummingbirds, one up getting nectar from the flower on the left, and one on a nest on the right. And it was nested in a bush next to a building. And it was a difficult shot because it was really dark in that bush. And I had a 200 millimeter lens on, so I had to stand way back and photograph it. But I was able to recover the highlights in Photoshop to make it a good photo. But you can see the delicate nest. It's made out of plant material and spider webs. You know, hummingbirds use spider webs to keep their nests together.
That's how it's body.
No, that's the head is the only thing visible of her. She's sitting on her eggs. Yeah. Yeah.
And they use spider webs?
Yeah, they use spider, they can also get caught in spider webs, but they use spider webs to bind the nest together. But they're really tiny. The eggs are about the size of jelly beans. Or less. Short-billed pigeon on the left and a ruby-spotted swallowtail on the right. These were all done there at Tranquil Bay. We weren't there at the right time of the season in February of 24 of 23 to get the Mike bird, but a lot of birds at treetops. So I had to look for other things. There's a tower there that you can climb up on above that gets above the treetops so you can photograph down. And it's 70 steps or 75 steps, something like that. So I trained vigorously at UFC gym going up and down the steps ahead of time. So I'd be able to do that. And I was doing like 35 round trips, 13 steps up, 13 steps down, 35 times before I went to Panama. And I was in great shape. I went up there in no time. And a lot of the people in our group, I can't say a lot of the people because there was only like 7 or 8 of us. Several of the people in our group said, no way, I'm not going to try it for one reason or another. But it wasn't productive anyway, because there were not a lot of birds flying by. Sometimes there were some parrots zooming by, but at long distances, at high speeds, like they're going supersonic. That's a banana quit. Hanging around there. This is one of the shots I got of the area, and that was from top to tower. Looking down on that building constructed on the water, a distance away, and the other side of the island. The old canal. This is after we flew north. This is a beginning of the rainforest shot.
Is that a sunset?
No, it was just cloudy and kind of the clouds were kind of weird colored. Now this was in the morning. Green heron and a Montezuma oropendula. The oropendula is an iconic bird because of its features, including that yellow tail. We didn't see too many of them in Panama, but I got lots of shots of them in Costa Rica. Out on the left is the nest of oropendulas. Those are just big baskets hanging down out of the trees. And that's an oropendula there on the right. Now, I did catch a couple of blue-headed parrots zooming by above us on the canal. It's a lucky shot. Very lucky because they were going fast, they were up high, and I went up, started shooting, and I just happened to get some good shots of them. Cattle egret. This is actually the same one, perched on the left, and it had taken off on the right. You can tell them because of all the brown on them, the shades of yellow brown on their feathers. This is an interesting photograph. We were in the depths of this canal, and here's a Panamanian couple in their hand-carved wooden boat. I think she was about to go out and do some fishing. He's got his fingers on a fishing net, and if you'll notice, he's got his machete on his back. The canal was not very wide. Oh. One of the most interesting pictures of a basking turkey vulture I've ever seen. It sat up there on the top of that tree for a long time with its wings spread like that, just soaking up the sun. Two brown basilisk lizards. One out in the bushes and one on a piling at a spot we stopped at. It has a outhouse floating on the water. But you have to bring your own TP. The locals don't supply TP.
Don't you just use leaves?
I suppose you could if you had to. But the boat owner or the tour guides know what to bring. Green iguana out in the wild and a red poison dart frog out in the wild. They knew where the red poison dart frogs were hanging out, being good guides. They pulled up to the side of the canal and we got out and they were all over the place on the ground, under the leaves. You really had to be careful where you stop because they are really tiny where you step. They could go under a leaf and you could squish them. I got this photo at the same location as the poison dart frogs. I just saw it down there on a leaf, so I took a picture of it. It's called a glorious blue skipper. So Muscovy duck. I'd never seen one before. We actually have them in this country too, but not around here, further back east, I think. Marsh, the ocean, went through some marshes. A couple of black vultures, and they were there for a reason. There were actually a bunch of vultures there because they were hanging around a carcass of a dead water buffalo. One of these guys. That one's not a carcass though. And he's out in the water, browsing on the plants and stuff.
What kind of predators do they have up there other than like the crocodiles or whatever? Predators?
They have a huge, well, they got raptors, you know, vultures, and they have a huge eagle that preys on the sloths. Yeah, where they were. But up in Costa Rica, it is an issue, which they said it was harder to find sloths in Costa Rica than Panama. But when I got to Costa Rica, they said that was bunk, that they got them down in Panama too. So I don't know. Maybe just not in that area because those sloths were out in the open. The ones up there against the blue sky. They weren't worried about eagles. And of course, they have raptors, or you know, they got snakes.
Cats. any kind of,
I think they do have cats, but we didn't see anything like that. Yeah, there's cats in Central America. This is called a snail kite. This is the best shot I had of one, but my guide had one with a picture put in with a snail in his beak. They go soaring around over the water of the marsh and they see snails down there. They go grab them and eat them. Couple of different birds, northern jacana and a little blue heron. Some royal terns and some black-bellied whistling ducks. I never heard them whistle, but we saw several of them. Bird Island, what they called it, but I can't find it by name on a map. Brown boobies, a female and a chick on the left and a male on the right. Got lots of pictures of boobies. Nice picture of a male and a female frigate bird.
That is such a great beautiful picture.
Pardon?
That's beautiful.
Thank you. They were soaring above. Now we're to Costa Rica already. And I could have put a lot more pictures in this, but enough is enough. Okay, San Jose, right in the middle where the red square is. Can you see that? Okay, that's where we landed and spent a night in a hotel. Then we were off to the blue triangle up there just below Nicaragua or whatever it is. And we stayed there for a few days and shot birds off of balconies of the lodge and went other places to shoot different birds from there. And then we went to the purple triangle, a little closer to San Jose, and spent 3 nights in a lodge there and didn't do much photographing at the lodge, other than along the walkways you can find poison dart frogs and really weird long centipedes and millipedes and stuff like that, if you're interested in it. And from there we went to different locations and shoot hummingbirds. And then after 3 nights there, we went and spent 2 or 3 nights at the third place, which is up in the mountains at 8,000 feet. And that's where we shot the high altitude birds, hummingbirds and the quetzals, like the one I had in the last show. Right here with the black triangle. Toucans. Collared aracari, beautiful toucans. Heel-billed toucans. You'll see that it's raining in some of these shots if you can see the raindrops. It's raining on the left one. We got rain no matter where we went but it wasn't a big issue. Northern emerald toucanet and a yellow-throated toucan. The carcara. This bird actually exists also down in Texas. I got lots of shots of it, but this is the only one I really published. A crested carcara, and it's a predator. More of a raptor, I suppose. I like that shot. Here we are with the oropendula again. Montezuma's Oropendula on the left, perched and flying right at me, almost on the right. Here, I found out there's more than one kind of Oropendula, a chestnut-headed Oropendula. Honey creepers were fun. Little tiny birds. They don't look tiny in some of my pictures. They look big because I was zooming in on them, but they're tiny. As a matter of fact, I'll land on hummingbird feeders and feed off the nectar. And the hummingbirds are afraid to go after them because the honey creepers are bigger and they got big beaks compared to them. They can bite. These all are green honey creepers. The male on the left turns blue when he's an adult. In the middle, you see a juvenile male, it's kind of both, and the female on the right. These are like little sparrow size things. Red-legged honey creepers on the left, female on the left and the male on in the middle. And the shining honey creeper is the only picture I got of one on the right. Vultures, got lots of vultures. King vulture on the left and a sad-looking black vulture on the right. Tanagers, I got lots of different tanagers. Summer tanager female and a summer tanager male. Western tanager and a flame-colored tanager. Some of the pictures I have are not the best, but when you only see one of one species and it's fleeting, and all the best poses were done before you got the camera up to your eye, you use what you can. Scarlet rump tanager female on the left and a scarlet rump tanager male on the right. A palm tanager, and one of my favorite pictures on the right, the blue-gray tanager.
He's made out of clay.
Yeah. It's really a detailed shot. Crimson collared tanager on the left, and then two other birds that didn't fall into any other category, so I put them here. A slaty flower piercer has a hooked beak, and it goes in from the back to get the nectar, the food. Goes in from the back of the flower with that hooked beak. And a blue densus, or Docnus, or Dostnus, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. And that's the only shot I had of those, both of those birds. Euphonia, an olive-backed euphonia, beautiful bird. Yellow-throated euphonia, female and male.
How did you keep track of all these names?
Well, I didn't rely on anybody else. I rely on Merlin Bird ID, put out by Cornell Labs, Cornell University. Okay, I research, I take a picture of them and it says it's this, or if it's not that, it's probably this. Most of the time it directly identifies them. Of course, some of them I already knew, but most of them I didn't. You know, when I got there, I'd never been there before. Parrots and parakeets. A pair of brown-hooded parrots pair of orange-chinned parakeets. The one on the left is a juvenile by the looks of its belly. Hummingbirds. Thought I'd never get to them. We in one spot at the center location, the second location, we went to a spot where they set up multi-flashes. And they had hummingbirds coming in under their canopy in the rain. It was raining outside, it wasn't raining where we were, with backgrounds, black or gray background, 5 flashes. And we captured them using multi-flash. And that's a long-billed hermit on the left, and a rufous-tailed hummingbird on the far right, and I think it is a female white-necked Jacobin along with it there at the same plant. But we haven't got those yet. There we go. There's a female white-necked Jacobin and a male long-billed hermit there. This is a male rufous-tailed hummingbird. And I didn't have to go far for these pictures. The plants were right outside the door of my cabin at the lodge. And I went out there one day and he was feeding, so I took advantage of it. This is another picture of a rufous-tailed hummingbird. Now, this is the white-necked Jacobin I was talking about. It's got white all over it, but you see on the picture on the right where it's at the little feeder, you can see the back of it, just below its neck, it's got a big white spot. That's where it gets that part of its name. They were the most plentiful of the hummingbirds that I photographed. Here's a couple more pictures of the long-billed hermit. Very interesting looking hummingbird. The picture on the left is white-throated mountain gem and the bee, and then and another one on the right is a male white mountain gem with another bee. Now, of course, the left one was in the last show we had. And both of these are photographed up at the third location up high in the mountains. They're high altitude hummingbird. And that was the only place where we had a lot of bees hanging around. They were trying out, to get the nectar too. So they were competitors. I didn't get very many pictures where the bees were in focus, but these two, the one on the left was the best, and then the one on the right was a little not quite as good with the bee. Talamanca hummingbird, male on the left and a female on the right. Beautiful hummingbirds up there or down there. Lesser violetier. Trying to get done by noon. A band-tailed barbed-throat, it's a little tiny one. I didn't get any females of the species, and it was kind of a rare bird. Bronze-tailed on the left and a volcano hummingbird on the right, and a volcano is another tiny little one. A fiery-throated hummingbird on the left and the right. They're absolutely stunning. Woodpeckers, did get a few woodpeckers, a couple anyway. A black-cheeked and an acorn, and I believe both of those species reside up here too. I know the acorn does, I'm not sure about the black-cheek. Flycatchers, only got one. Long-tailed silky flycatcher. If you'll note on the right, it's It's got a berry off the tree that it's standing on, and it's hovering between its beaks. That would make a good painting. In my humble opinion, not being a painter. Okay, the resplendent Quetzal. The one on the left was in the show. The one on the right, same period with the back. And it shows a different perspective as to the tail. Now, the tails are about 3 feet long, just to get some perspective. These two shots were not in the rain, not encumbered by rain. There's lots of different species of Quetzals as well, but we only saw this species. The females. Somewhat colorful, but no long tails. Trying to get done by noon.
I think like the birds are, their environment is the same colors as their colors, as the birds' colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just beautiful birds. When we were at this house where we were doing one of our hummingbird, so we went to 2 private houses for hummingbirds because they have feeders set up out in the backyard, and each one had different hummingbirds coming to it, or some different. When I was waiting to photograph or done photographing, I went outside and it had been raining, and the water droplets on the orchids in the garden just attracted my attention. Okay, let's get rid of this stuff again. But look at all that stuff. There we go. Another one, but I call this the orchids in the ants because it's covered in ants and spider webs. High up flowers, hardy fuchsia and firebush growing up there near the lodge at 8,000 feet. This is the road up to and down from the lodge. And we're up in the fog. We had to go down the hill a couple, 300 feet to get to where there was a blind where we could photograph the Quetzals if they showed up, because they didn't always show up. They showed up the first day we were there when it was raining, in the afternoon when we were there. Or in the morning, actually. We were there in the morning. Another group went, or the group decided to go back down in the afternoon to photograph again, and nobody showed up. I didn't go because of physical problems, but it's a beautiful area. The lodge up there, and I love the succulents they have everywhere around that lodge. And the patio up there on the deck, the raised deck to the right, you could see it, the poles that hold it up to the right of the bushes. That's where we shot the high altitude hummingbirds at. We're right on that ledge. Other creatures. Oh, by the way, if you expect me to go down there and get all those hummingbirds and birds without knowing where to go and without having feeders, forget it. I would have been there 10 years.
How long have you been photographing?
Well, I got my first camera in 1966 in Hong Kong. My first 35 millimeter Asahi Pentax. I started then. It's been on and off over the years, but basically it's been on heavy ever since I retired in 2001 or a couple of years later. When I got to fishing in Northern California and discovered all the opportunities for wildlife and landscapes out on the lakes. A variegated squirrel was photographed outside of one of the lodges. Strawberry poison dart frog. He's sitting in a fungus. Little tiny frog sitting in this little tiny fungus, growing out of a log. A smooth helmeted iguana and an eyelash pit viper. And last but not least, at the lodge in the middle, on the floor of the outside bar, during a rainstorm, here comes a coral snake slithering across the floor. They're very poisonous, but they're not very poisonous because they got little tiny teeth and they got to be able to chew on you for a while to get the poison out.
Well, that's not happening.
If they can chew on you long enough, you might die. But they are very poisonous. Yeah. One of the employees took a broom and kind of ushered it out back into the rainforest. You're welcome. Thank you.
Jim, was this a tour group that specifically was here to show you where the birds are?
Yes,
Oh,
that's why we didn't do any architectural stuff. We were zooming from one lodge to the next, and in the lodges, we go out on side trips to get specific birds and things. And sometimes we photograph right at the lodge.
Do they have, is this like a group that does this all over just there? Or-
No, they do it all. If you can look it up, it's tropical photo tours. They go to India, they go to Vietnam, they go to other places in Central and South America.
Brazil would be.
They would probably go to Brazil. I'm not sure. I know they go to Ecuador and Peru, and who knows? They'll go anywhere. Like if they'll go to India, they'll go anywhere. Because India is a very interesting place to visit, but it's a long ways away from here.
Yeah.
As is Vietnam. But they'll go anywhere. Tropical photo tours. I'm trying to get healthy enough so I can go on another tour with them maybe in 26.
thank you, I enjoyed it. The girls are gonna go to work, so.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too, dear.
All right, kiddo. You stopped
saw
screen
that?
sharing? I did. So
Oh,
is that it
okay.
for us?
Yes, it is.
I will stop the recording. Thank you, Jim. They were wonderful. It's interesting. You need to come visit me. Some of what you saw there, we have here, and you got a beautiful caracara. I've only gotten one shot of one. It took me forever, and it's not as good as yours. So anyway, thank you very much for doing that. Thank you, Miss Linda. As
I'd love to
always,
come and visit you.
you're welcome to. We have a guest room.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, guys, I'm going to stop recording, and I will see you guys later.
All right.